Our team is excited to introduce the 6 climate champions who will be part of our inaugural CDR Accelerator. And before I continue, I just want to do a shout out to our team, led by Andy Lamb and with support from Ria Perot and Nihat Gebriad. They've done a fantastic job pulling together these individual companies and all the programming for the cohort. So big applause for them. The CDR Accelerator is the first project within our broader carbon management mission. And as you're all aware, I don't need to point it out or go into any detail. This has been a pretty terrible year when it comes to natural disasters across the world as they relate to climate change. We'll need all of the solutions out there that not only reduce our emissions, but also solutions that address all the legacy emissions already in our atmosphere that are already baked in, all the latent emissions. The CDR Accelerator is a nationwide initiative that has recruited 6 Canadian ventures that are actively capturing and or utilizing atmospheric carbon dioxide. We've received applications from many high-profile companies, showing you how much development there has been in this space in Canada. And with that, and with more details, I'll pass it along to Andy Lamb, who will be the host for the remainder of the session. Over to you, Andy.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. As Tyler mentioned, my name is Andy Lamb. Hello, I'm the Senior Manager of Climate Programs here at MaRS, and I lead our Mission from Mars initiative. So let's start by going over some ground rules and logistics. First of all, this session is being recorded, and we'll be uploading the recording to our missionfrommars.ca website in case you want to revisit it later or share it with your friends. There's a live transcription, which you can enable down at the bottom just by toggling it in the Zoom toolbar. And if you have any questions or inquiries, you can send them to mfm@marsdd.com. That's our inbox, or directly to our MaRS team who are in the chat here. So quickly running through the agenda for the day. You'll be with us for the next hour. Our Mission from Mars team is going to spend about 15 minutes to give a brief overview about why this carbon management work is important to us and what we'll be doing. Afterwards, you'll hear from one of our amazing partners, the Grantham Foundation. And then the part that we're all excited for and why we're here, we're going to be seeing who's part of the cohort. And you'll actually hear from each of the 6 ventures in terms of the super cool stuff they're doing. And then we'll wrap up with what's next for the program. First, want to give a big thanks to our funders and supporters. MaRS is a nonprofit. Most of what we do are free for our ventures and startups. It's enabled by our partners, which for this program includes HSBC Bank Canada, the Peter Gilligan Foundation, the Grantham Foundation, the RBC Foundation, and our newest partner, the Consicon Foundation. Thank you. We wouldn't be able to embark on this work without you. All right, let's start with a bit of context setting to set the stage in terms of why we're here and why this work is important to MaRS. Hopefully we all know about the climate crisis to some degree. At a very basic level, we can attribute climate change to the burning of fossil fuels, which produces greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane and remain in our atmosphere for a very long time. These trap heat here on Earth and everything we do, from generating power, goods, producing food, driving your car, generating more and more and more carbon dioxide. All this extra heat is essentially trapped here on Earth and causing our climate to warm at very unnatural rates. The impacts are getting worse. And this year, like Tyler mentioned, it seems like we're reminded daily of the climate crisis with headlines with record-breaking temperatures, record rainfalls, more severe storms, wildfires across our country and other places around the world like Greece. So, what are we going to do about it? In 2015, in Paris, world leaders came together to commit to keeping climate change in check, essentially committing to cutting emissions to where the increase in global temperatures, in average global temperatures, will remain below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Ideally, we can limit that increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Canada, where Mars is situated, has committed to achieving net zero by 2050. This will hinge on huge leaps in clean energy innovation. We're talking monumental leaps. And unfortunately, and I guess I probably should have said this in my preceding slide, that I am a climate optimist. I'm confident that we can do it. The IEA and others have stated that we actually have many of the technologies that we need. They exist. We just need to commercialize them, whether they're solutions in renewable energy, battery storage, electrification, utilizing waste heat, mobility, and important for this topic, solutions that can capture carbon, whether it's from industrial processes now or from the atmosphere, and then importantly, create valuable products to utilize that, capture CO2 or store it. Carbon dioxide removal, which is the focus of our accelerator cohort today, is a process of capturing and permanently removing CO2. And you'll hear some exciting ways on how to do that later on. And although, like Tyler did state in his remarks, we do need to reduce emissions as much as we can, and we need to figure out what we do with all of the historical emissions that we've put up there now, and has what gotten us to where we are today with all of these climate disasters. And governments across the world, including Canada, have recognized that there's no viable pathway to net zero without carbon management techniques. So it's a key industry for MaRS to support going forward. So let's talk about the concept of scaling responsibly. I'm going to spend 2 minutes here. So most scenarios right now call for carbon removal at some gigaton scale. This would require the scale of infrastructure that we have in other sectors like mining and oil and gas. We at MaRS think we can get there, but we need to make sure that we do that responsibly. We know that the path that led to the climate crisis now has led to lots of injustices, and that the distribution of stuff like impacts and the distribution of benefits has been highly unequal in the past. So using the platform that MaRS have in enabling the innovators that we work with, the project developers, corporate adopters, policymakers, and others, we want to make sure that we're not making the same mistakes as we did previously. As we design all of this for scale, we're going to look to design that responsibly. That means figuring out how do we integrate equity and justice into R&D and into deployment and commercialization. Organizations like the World Resources Institute, they put out a phenomenal report. They emphasize that with new technologies that are unfamiliar to the public, investing in inclusive community engagement will be critical to responsible scaling. In the Canadian context, this means not only community engagement, but also Indigenous engagement and Indigenous reconciliation. MaRS, for example, we're situated here in Toronto, where I am, which is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. You can find, thanks Ria, in the chat, some resources to explore the Indigenous territories, treaties, and the languages of the land that you're currently on. We're grateful to live and work on this land and acknowledge that this acknowledgement is just words. So we are going to try and figure out how do we translate this into conversations that could shape action. So in summary, we need to do carbon removal, carbon utilization a lot, and we need to do it responsibly a lot also. Canada is positioned where we can be a leader at both, but we're excited to work with the ecosystem and many on this call today to help get us there. Which brings me to the next slide. I'm excited to announce the coalition that we're assembling. MaRS is typically known as a convener. We bring large groups of people and organizations to help figure out complex experts. We're not technical experts. We're not all policy experts or technology experts, but we know a lot of people who are. So I'm excited to announce our second initiative within this broader carbon management coalition. The first was the accelerator. The second is this coalition. We're looking to assemble about 25 to 30 organizations from across the ecosystem to figure out how do we develop this market together? How do we get to the scale that we need? And to my prior point, how do we do it responsibly? These are just 6 of some of the organizations we're working with, but they'll include policy experts, carbon markets experts, project developers, corporate adopters, as well, those who are buying now, and hopefully those who are looking to buy in the future. And importantly, the technology developers, some of whom you'll hear from in a few minutes. So now I'm excited to introduce my colleague and fellow Mission for Martian, Ria Perot, who will talk a bit about our mission and our accelerator. Over to you, Ria.
Thanks, Andy. I'm really excited about the announcement of the Carbon Management Coalition. It's going to play a key role in supporting our mission objectives. So for Mission from Mars Carbon Management, we're aiming to do 3 key things through our activities. First, increase the supply of high-quality solutions for carbon management, including carbon credits, and that will include in supporting startups and small and medium enterprises on their pathway to commercialization and scaling up their operations. Secondly, increasing the demand for these high-quality solutions. So working with our partners, potential adopters, and the corporate innovation network to increase the demand and build up confidence. And finally, supporting policy development in this new and nascent space. The CDR Accelerator is our first initiative in the carbon management mission, and of course, why we're here today. So Canada really does have the advanced technology, the innovative community, and the people and resources to be a world leader in the carbon removal space. Through the CDR Accelerator, we'll be working with 6 amazing Canadian ventures on their path to reaching kiloton scale of carbon removal within the next few years and megaton scale within the decade. We're taking an own the podium approach with these companies to support them in improving their commercialization capacity and accelerating their growth. The program will be split into 2 main parts. First, we'll be working with the ventures on developing and implementing commercialization strategies that ensure successful market entry and adoption. We'll be working with the ventures to provide tailored workshops, access to MaRS's market intelligence, capital, talent, and communication services, and access to mentor networks through events with industry experts, customers, and partners. And ventures will also be getting an enhanced public profile and exposure as a Mission from Mars climate champion. The second part will focus on the strategic partnerships and liftoffs. We will be facilitating curated introductions to domestic and international investors and corporations. And we're also setting up an early adopter network of corporates who are looking to both procure carbon credits and are willing to provide ongoing advice to our ventures. So we're starting off with a really strong base of innovative corporations within the MaRS network. But if you are interested in working with the 6 climate champions or with any of MaRS's many other startups or scale-ups, please reach out to us with the link I just put in the chat. We want to hear from people who want to work with ventures more broadly, and that includes investing in companies, procuring from them, adopting innovative solutions, and other ways of partnering. And in turn, we would not be doing the work we are doing now without the support of our partners, HSBC Bank Canada, Peter Gilligan Foundation, Grantham Foundation, RBC Foundation, and Consecon Foundation. And it's my pleasure to introduce Caroline de Bossert, who is the Director of Climate Investing for the Grantham Foundation for the Protection of the Environment. Caroline, over to you.
Thanks so much, Ria. Thanks, Andy and Tyler, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm on the road today, so before I go on, can I just get a quick thumbs up that you can all see and hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
Super, thank you. So I'm Caroline de Bossert. I'm a director at the Grantham Foundation. I'm the only Canada-based member of the foundation team. I'm not Canadian by birth, as you may be able to tell, but I am by choice. And I believe this country has the enormous potential, levels of innovation, and talent to build a thriving carbon removal market. The Grantham Foundation funds some of the most exciting early stage solutions for climate change. We're incredibly excited to be partnering with MaRS on this carbon management mission in pursuit of greater innovation and commercialization of new technologies for tackling the climate crisis. Andy covered this well, so I won't re-emphasize the scale and speed of action we need to address the climate crisis. But I did want to underline how critical it is that carbon removal is a part of that picture. Carbon removal is not an optional add-on, or as we might have said a couple of years ago, break glass in case of emergency, but a necessary part of stabling the climate. There's a huge scope for further innovation here to reduce energy needs and costs for carbon removal as we roll it out, and to build a thriving market on the demand side. The companies we're meeting today are doing some incredibly exciting work on carbon dioxide removal and utilization. I truly believe they're some of the highest potential companies in this space in Canada and can help us achieve and exceed ambitious climate goals. The accelerator will help these companies scale their really important innovations, and we're so excited to have these champions on board. So I'll hand back over to Andy there. Thanks so much to the MaRS team. I'm looking forward to hearing more.
Awesome. Thanks, Caroline. And great to see you as always. Awesome. So the moment we've been waiting for, we're super excited to announce these 6 companies that we're going to be working with, all of whom are quickly becoming global leaders within their subgroups of carbon removal and carbon utilization. So I don't have drums, but the 6 are, there they are. So we're going to be working with CarbonRun, Carbon Upcycling, Gaia Refinery, Hyperion, Planetary, and TerraFixing. I won't explain what they do because fortunately they're with us today and on next. So to give them as much time as possible, let's get right into it. So with that, I'm going to bring on Luke Connell, CEO and co-founder of CarbonRun. Luke, go for it.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Tyler and team. Really excited to be here. And I think just on Carolyn's comment, I'm Canadian born. I want to stay Canadian by choice, and I hope that CarbonRun can grow in Canada. And I think this is a big piece towards that future happening. So this is great. It's easy to be alone in this space because it's a big world, but to have a place where we can get together and share resources and learn and grow is great. And I don't know any other countries that are focused on it like this. So kudos to MaRS for picking it up. And when I look back, a year ago, I met Andy at a climate event at MaRS, and the idea I think was percolating with you and Tyler at that time. And you knew it then that Canada has the ingredients to be a major player. We have the resources, the know-how, the people, the smarts, and what's seen as a relatively credible regulatory framework that could be scaled in other jurisdictions. So I really do feel it's all here. It's amazing to have an opportunity to focus in Canada on this work as well. And who we are at CarbonRun, maybe that's important, is we're focused on river alkalinity enhancement and increasing rivers' natural ability to store carbon permanently. So we were launched in 2022. We're Halifax-based, and right now we're developing our first project in Nova Scotia. Next slide, please. Built off a long evidence and large body of evidence of the safety and efficacy of river liming. So I think you'll see an interesting landscape of technologies today. We work to package this up in our technology in a way that can be interpreted by carbon markets and carbon purchasers and investors effectively and efficiently. Look forward to sharing where we are in our journey and getting suggestions and opportunities to scale. And quickly, just to go a bit more deeper in where we are now, if you could put the next slide up, please. We are deploying our initial project in rural Nova Scotia with plans to deliver credits by 2024. So some of the things that were mentioned by some of the speakers earlier, we fully agree with, and I think there's an opportunity to showcase these virtues of Canadian carbon removal. Community engagement, partnerships with Indigenous communities. A lot of us are working in open systems that are connected to rivers, oceans, and forests. So working with these partners is critical. We're also finding supportive landowners and forest management companies who want to let their land be used for these purposes. So I think there's a cool growing network of stakeholders. And then again, great supply chain in place, government support. And with our process, there's a nice opportunity to directly verify that work. So looking forward to I said that many times, getting engaged with this group, working with my partners in the co-founder space, but as well as the ecosystem partners who want to help these technologies grow. So yeah, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome, thanks for that, Luke. Great. Next up is Ryan Bournes, Business Strategy Development Manager at Carbon Upcycling Technologies. Hey, Ryan.
Perfect. Thanks, Andy. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We're very excited to be part of the cohort here. So yeah, as was mentioned, my name's Ryan Bournes. I'm with Carbon Upcycling Technologies. We are a carbon utilization company headquartered in Calgary, but with projects underway in Ontario, as well as the UK and the US. And at Carbon Upcycling, we developed technology that allows us to utilize CO2 to create a high-performance cement substitute that contains permanently sequestered carbon dioxide. So as you can see here, our technology addresses two major challenges. The first one, the obvious one, industrial CO2 is at an unmanageable, or we're at reaching or have reached unmanageable amounts right now. And so we are targeting a couple of different major industrial sectors, starting with cement. Not only does it account for about 8% of global CO2 emissions, but it's also the most expensive component of concrete. And so finding cement substitutes, high performance cement substitutes, is a major point of consideration for any major cement producer and their roadmap to decarbonization. Additionally, there are underutilized materials that are disposed of as wastes. And our technology allows us to utilize both of these streams, the CO2 and these industrial byproducts, to create a high value product. And on the next slide here, I'll show you what our technology looks like. So this is our, we can address these challenges through our patented technology that incorporates CO2, which can be from sources like direct air capture, atmospheric CO2, as well as low grade or low concentration flue gas based CO2. And we combine that with these industrial byproducts in our, what we call our reactor here. The end result, after it's gone through our process here, is a high performance cement replacement. So the overall impact of what we're doing here is a direct and permanent storage of CO2 into these materials, and then an indirect reduction of CO2 by reducing the amount of cement that's required in the production of concrete. We've been able to scale our technology from something that was just, basically could produce a few grams of product per day. It was the reactor was the size of a cookie jar, as we like to say. And what you're seeing here is a reactor that allows us to produce 50 tons of CO2 enhanced cement substitutes. And we're now underway with a few projects where we're integrating these reactors with major cement producers at their site and utilizing CO2 straight from their flue stacks. So we're quite excited about being part of the cohort here to advance CDR technologies, not only just in Canada here, but the impact that can have across the world. And specifically, we're excited about the fact that we can interact and have exposure to a variety of key decision makers to progress this space, and also work to advance the deployment of carbon credits to help facilitate further CDR projects down the line. So thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. We're equally excited to have you and Carbon Upcycling team on board. Next up, Jenny Shaw, CEO of Gaia Refinery.
Hello, everyone. It's just so great to be here and to be part of this fantastic cohort. Thank you to the MaRS team for putting together this event, and for everybody for spending the hour with us. My name is Jenny Shaw, and I'm co-founder of Gaia Refinery alongside Tammy Kai. We are headquartered in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And as you can see from the slide, Gaia Refinery has a bio-driven direct air capture technology solution. And so very quickly, I'll try to walk you through what that means. The most exciting part of our system is that we've established a synergy that utilizes biomass to drive and complete the DAC cycle of absorption and desorption. So if you're not familiar with these terms, very quickly, direct air capture does just that. We have a process to capture carbon dioxide right out from the atmosphere, and it's in a liquid. But if we pause there, the second half of direct air capture is to isolate the carbon dioxide and through desorption. And we use biomass, waste biomass streams to run this. So while we do a pre-treatment step with biomass waste streams, organic wastewater, we can capture more carbon dioxide, and then we're left with a liquid solution that drives and runs the desorption of direct air capture. So I know it kind of intertwines together, and we think it's a additional plus win. We also have the opportunity to have some biomass residue that can go on to be a value proposition in the market. And so once we have this carbon dioxide, we can work with sequestration partners because it's gaseous carbon dioxide, to sequester it and activate the carbon credit market, or work with partners to utilize the carbon dioxide within their streams, whether it's concrete or sustainable aviation fuel, lots of different opportunities there. One of the key points to our process is that the energy demand, by using biomass as the driver, we're finding it's about 1/10 of the current energy benchmark. So we need a lot less renewable energy input for our process, which is just exciting. And hopefully we can partner in many places to just scale faster. Next slide, please. So how we're specifically impacting climate change, if we go back to the principles of carbon dioxide removal, taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, we just like this graph to show it can be direct air capture, but we also have that biogenic piece. And so we capture it in both of these ways, and it comes together to have more high volume, high purity gaseous carbon dioxide that then we can work with partners to store it reliably and durably. And again, doing it in this alternative way to capture carbon dioxide, we don't depend on the renewable grid as much. So we're just so excited to be part of the MaRS CDR Accelerator and cohort for all the reasons stated, to develop strong partnerships, project developers, carbon market experts, and push us forward as fast as we can go. We really believe that our technology and many CDR technologies will have the greatest impact when we work together and we find those partnerships so that we can move faster, scale faster, and get going on our way. So I look forward to talking with all of you in the future. Thank you. Back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for taking the time to explain all of that. Next up is Heather Ward, CEO and co-founder of Hyperion Global Energy. Hey, Heather.
Hi, Andy. Thanks so much. And thanks everyone for attending today. Just delighted to be here. My name's Heather Ward, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hyperion Energy. We are a carbon tech startup based in Ottawa, and we're helping companies clear the air with a solution for hard to abate industries to both remove and utilize their captured carbon. And next slide, please. So we are very excited to be building the world's first carbon recycling system. This is a drop-in containerized unit that captures and converts waste CO2 emissions from heavy industries. And we turn that into a very valuable mineral product that goes into everything from ultra high performance concrete to pharmaceuticals to even our toothpaste. And we were thrilled to be part of the COSIA Carbon X Prize in 2018. And in 2022, our team scaled up our technology by about 500% and now has a fully operating pilot in Ontario at the Lafarge Canada plant with a capacity to remove and convert 1,000 tons of CO2 a year into calcium carbonate, which then can go back into making concrete. We also use industrial waste inputs to keep the economics favorable, and we're looking at a $44 billion mineral market to really make the profit from capturing carbon. And on the next slide. So we're excited to be part of the MaRS Accelerator. Really kudos to the whole team for convening this program. We are looking for strategic partners, additional host sites, and investment and joining our wonderful partners you can see here as we continue the roadmap for scale up and commercialization to our next level. So thank you so much and look forward to working with everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. Would love to get my hands on some of that toothpaste. And I guess my feet on that cement. Great. So next up is Mike Kellen, CEO of Planetary.
Thanks, Andy. So we can jump straight into this slide here, and talk a little bit about what we do. So Planetary is a company that is helping industrial partners to deploy what's called ocean alkalinity enhancement. And what is that? Basically what it is that we have in the atmosphere right now, we have a balance between the amount of CO2 that we have in the air and the amount that we have in the ocean. And as we increase the amount of CO2 that we have in the air, more and more of it dissolves into the ocean. So if you've ever heard of ocean acidification, this is how that happens. You get all the CO2 in the air and it dissolves into the ocean to balance out those concentrations. And that essentially gives the ocean the equivalent of heartburn. So what we do at Planetary is we give the ocean an antacid. And that antacid neutralizes some of that extra CO2 in the ocean. And by doing so, provides the ability for the ocean to absorb more CO2 from that process. Planetary is a company, we've been around for 4 years. We we're one of the winners of the X Prize Carbon Removal Milestone Awards. And we've just now started in the last week our first major pilot facility out in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So if we go to the next slide, you can see a picture of this process. The process essentially is scaling up to be one of the largest direct air capture and permanent sequestration systems in the world. By the end of this year, it will be capturing at a rate of 6,570 tons per year from the atmosphere, which is a little bigger than the Orca plant out in Iceland. And this is a made in Canada, deployed in Canada technology that we're really excited to scale out around the world. In terms of the Mission to Mars program, we're really excited to be a part of this program. We're looking for additional partners. We're looking for additional sites to scale this out. At this point, we've handled every challenge required in order to deploy this technology. We have regulatory approval for what we're doing. We've engaged tightly with communities to ensure that we're working closely with a variety of communities in the regions that we're working in to authorize this kind of activity and to ensure that we're sharing the results and the benefits. We have published a protocol to count the carbon, what's called an MRV, which is a big deal in this space. And we've developed all the technology required to move forward. And so this is something that has the potential to be one of the largest scale carbon removal systems in the world. And we have a scalable model to deploy it. And we're excited to work with all of these partners and all of these amazing companies that you see on the line in order to push this forward and make it a massive made in Canada solution that can help to address the climate crisis.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Awesome. Last but certainly not least, Vida Gabriel, co-founder and CSO of TerraFixing.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Vida. I'm a chemical engineer by training and co-founder of TerraFixing. We were incorporated back in 2020. We can change slide now. I grew up in the Greater Toronto region, but I moved to Ottawa about a decade ago for university. TerraFixing is absolutely stoked about the Mission from Mars Accelerator, and we're really looking forward to deepening our roots with the Toronto Entrepreneurial Network through the program. But for now, we're based, actually, we'll go back a slide. Sorry about that. We're based in Ottawa, which is home to the largest skating rink in the world. The winter and cold climates are very important to us here at TerraFixing, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But for some background on the carbon removal space and where we fit into that, in the realm of carbon capture strategies, there are two broad categories. We've got point source and direct air capture. As Andy was telling us earlier, today, the IPCC reports tell us that in addition to emission reductions and point source, we need about 5 to 10 gigatons worth of carbon removal and permanent storage per year to achieve that 1.5 degree target that was set in the Paris Agreement. Canada has an ambitious goal of net zero emissions by 2050, but one of the biggest challenges that we have is that to date, the majority of direct air capture technologies that are doing some remarkable work in the space today are not suitable for large swaths of Canada because they have limitations when operating in freezing conditions. So if any country really that has a real winter hopes to achieve its emission reduction targets, it will need a DAC technology that operates in the cold. And we at TerraFixing have engineered a DAC solution that's specifically geared towards cold climates. So very briefly, the technology that we have does not use any chemicals. Instead, it uses an adsorbent material called a zeolite in a 5-step process that I'll show you on this GIF. So we've got large fans at the back of the system, which draws in atmospheric air. In a first step, it removes any residual water that might be in the air. And so the dehumidified air goes into our zeolite bed where the carbon is captured. From there, we apply a weak vacuum to draw out any impurities like nitrogen or argon that are naturally within the air. Then to isolate the CO2, we heat up the bed and draw a strong vacuum to pull out all of the carbon from there, which can then be compressed and then sent for permanent storage. From there, we will backflow air through the system and pick up the residual heat that's in the carbon capture bed to regenerate or evaporate off the water that's in the water capture bed, and then the system is ready to go again. Having gone through many stages of development, we're now scaling up the technology to compete for the X Prize. And to give you an idea of what our units look like, here on the top right, this is what it is that we're currently building, and the bottom right shows you what the commercial unit will eventually look like. What TerraFixing offers is the first DAC solution that not only thrives in cold climates, but really when scaled to the gigaton, I'm a climate optimist also, will cost below $100 per ton. And this is what a lot of us in the cohort are working very hard to achieve. Low costs like this for TerraFixing are possible because there are just so many benefits to capturing carbon in cold climates. I don't have time to get into it now, but it is explained with some detail on the website on the technology tab, so you can check that out if you're curious. With that, we can't wait to accelerate our climate impact through the mission from MaRS Accelerator. We want to thank the team at MaRS for your leadership in this rapidly evolving, confusing industry. And again, to the whole team for supporting us in our onboarding this far. Thank you very much. And back to you, Andy.
Awesome, Vida. Thank you. Great. So, and thanks to all 6 ventures and presenters. You did a great job in summarizing your work in only a few minutes, and you were all very punctual. So thank you also for that. I hope that was enough for the audience as a teaser. If you want to learn more about each of the company's technologies and solutions, and importantly, how you can partner with them, feel free to reach out to them or to us, and we can help make an introduction. Great. So this takes us to nearly the end of the session. In terms of what's next for MaRS and for our program, after launching the cohort today, it's time to, I guess, roll up our sleeves and start the work. We'll be supporting these companies over the next year or so on their commercialization journey to help them access carbon markets, build partnerships with adopters and project developers, and really validate their solutions. Pretty much what Ria covered earlier in the presentation. But at the same time, as we're working with these companies, we're going to be looking to do a lot more within this space. I mentioned the coalition, so we want to convene that group in October and hopefully be pumping out some thought leadership and some opportunities to engage with the broader ecosystem. Separately, we have a bunch of events coming up. So MaRS has our MaRS Climate Impact Conference, November 29th and 30th. Tickets will be on sale for that tomorrow. And then also we'll be at COP. So if anyone here is planning to be at COP later this year, please reach out to me at mfm@marsdd.com. Would love to either run into you or even set up some time to chat. We were at Carbon Unbound in New York earlier this year in May. It was a great event. I see it being even greater next year as the community grows. So if folks are planning to go next May, let us know. Great. So if you'll stay on for 30 more seconds, you're going to see a poll pop up in a few seconds. Yes, there it is. Please let us know how we did with this session. And with that, thank you again for joining.